Hey guys, it's Emma here and I have my recent reads favourite read for May, so let's just get into it. I've got my Goodreads app here. So the first thing I read I'd actually borrowed from my mum, and it's Under the Banner of Heaven, A Story of Violent Faith. The next thing was a comic my partner got me for, I think it was for my birthday, Evil Thing, a villains graphic novel, and this one was about Cruella de Vil. It's all the Disney villains and things. Next one was from one of my, was it my box of stories? No, I think it was my Abominable Book Club, and it was Reluctant Immortals. Next was from my box of stories, if I'm remembering correctly, and it was Reprieve. And then another from my box of stories, String City. And another from my box of stories, The Conqueror's Shadow. So I'm getting through them. I'm almost up to date now. I've still got quite a few to read, but I'm almost up to date. I'm getting there. And then a single issue that my partner had bought me, technically for my birthday, but it wasn't released till later. So that was issue 1 of Disney Villains Maleficent. So the same as the Scar one I read last month. It's just the first issue of this new series of Disney villains. So Maleficent has her own series as well. Then another from my box of stories, This One Sky Day. Another box of stories, I'm Waiting for You and Other Stories. And then the last one was one of the second-hand books I got in my Abominable Book Club package, which I really wanted to read because normally I just leave them to the side and I'll get to them when I get to them. But it was Blaze by Richard Bachman, who is Stephen King. So that was everything I read in May. A lot of the things were a bit meh. I wasn't too into them. A lot of 2 and 3 stars. So there wasn't many to choose from that I really enjoyed. There was like maybe 2 that I really enjoyed. And that was at the start of the month and the end of the month. So that Blaze book by Richard Bachman, aka Stephen King, was one of them that I really enjoyed. Another one to kind of give a shout out to was Reluctant Immortals, which is basically about 2 undead characters from some like old books. So like Dracula, there was Lucy from Dracula and Bertha Mason from Jane Eyre. So it's about them and they're like immortals, and it's kind of like set in like the 60s or something. So that was fun as well, so give that a go if that's your kind of thing. But the thing I'm going to pick for my favourite read for the month, as I say, it was close between the start and the end of the month, but the favourite one is Under the Banner of Heaven, A Story of Violent Faith by John Krakauer, I think is how you pronounce the name, I'm not sure. But yeah, basically it's basically a true crime book. So I don't read a lot of non-fiction. I do like my fiction, but sometimes I will get into a book, and especially once my mom lends me, and I was just completely sucked in right away. I just found it fascinating. There is a TV show on Disney Plus, or maybe like Hulu if you're in America, that is based around this book, but if you watch the show first before reading the book so that you can kind of see all the characters in your head, it's very loosely based on the book. You can tell when you're reading the book. There's lots of artistic license and things taken, and it doesn't focus on the same thing that the book focuses on. And anyway, so what I'll do is, just instead of like accidentally giving any spoilers, I'm just going to read the book description on this one. So it says, at the core of Krakauer's book are brothers Ron and Dan Lafferty, who insist they received a commandment from God to kill a blameless woman and her baby girl. Beginning with a meticulously researched accounting of this appalling double murder, Krakauer constructs a multi-layered, bone-chilling narrative of messianic delusion, polygamy, savage violence, and unyielding faith. Along the way, he uncovers a shadowy offshoot of America's fastest-growing religion and raises provocative questions about the nature of religious belief. So basically it is regarding this crime that happened in the 80s where a woman and her child were murdered. I won't go too much more into it, and it can be slightly brutal in the book as well, but it does a lot of jumping back and forth in time, so that is a bit that they carried through into the TV show, where it's regarding these Mormon fundamentalists and how they've like gone off from the main Mormon church, and kind of been like exiled from there because of their fundamental beliefs. But it also goes back and forth between the 80s, round about when the crime happened, and all the way back to the start of Mormonism, and you know, the guy who set it up, Joseph Smith, and all the stuff around that, and how some of that relates to now. And it's all really interesting. I don't really know anything about it, so I was really interested. And as I say, there is a lot of jumping back and forth, so I think I've seen comments from other people saying it was just too much, it was too dense, they just weren't interested, but I just found it fascinating. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. Again, it might not be one for everyone, but I just found it really interesting, so give that a go if you're into it. If not, maybe just give Blaze a go. It's much smaller, and it was a really good story as well. Stephen King, so yeah, it was pretty good. I really enjoyed that one too. Give that one a go if you're not into the other one. It's basically about a kind of like a kidnapping gone wrong slightly. But yeah, that is it for this one, guys. That was my favourite read for May. Any comments, leave them down below, share it with your friends, give it a thumbs up, and I will catch you next time, guys. Bye!